Are you overworked? Are you just busy where you just come in from day to day? You're so busy working that you really don't even know why you're working and what you're working for. My next guest is an amazing man, and he's going to tell you to put some meaning into what you're doing. It's the moment you've been waiting for. It's a conversation that must be had today and not tomorrow. Welcome to another episode of I'm Listening, I'm Ready with your host, Andrew E. Guy. Let's talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Andrew E. Guy. Welcome to another episode of the ILIR-PODCAST. That's right. I'm listening. I'm ready with your host, Andrew E. Guy. You know, I'm always excited. You know, I tell you every week, I am so excited. I'm trying to stay on this chair. I got a little bit of glue. I got some duct tape to keep myself in the chair because I feel like we're about to take off, man. The conversations that we're having is just going to take you to the next level. So I'm going to ask you to just strap into your chair right now. My next guest, he has this amazing program that's coming out in January to get you ready for the 2021. Remember, 2020 may have been where you open your eyes so you can see the vision. But for 2021, he wants to help you professionals to be understanding what it means to know what stillness means, to build resilience in you. I'm talking about my good friend from down there in New Jersey, Mr. Jay Abbasi. Now, before I even let Jay begin to speak, I got to tell you about a little bit about what he's doing. In 2014, he lost his dad. Yes, his dad passed away. And it was devastating for him. Now, I slowed down to read that because I also lost my dad too, right? So we have a lot to talk about. The conversation is just going to be amazing. At the same time, his marriage was falling apart and thousands of dollars in debt. This began his 6-year search to uncover the methodology to find success and fulfillment in life. The methodology he discovered changed his life completely. It led him on joining Tesla. And in under 4 years, he worked his way to running the sales training at the national level. He also led him to finding peace, contentment, fulfillment, no matter the external circumstances. Now, Jay is on a mission to leverage his skills and his expertise to support individuals just like you, an aspiring professional, and success to find the success in maintaining your inner peace through one-on-one coaching and group coaching programs. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the show, Mr. Jay Abbasi. Jay, say what's up to the people.
Oh, thank you, Andrew, for that incredible introduction. I don't know if I could live up to everything that you just stated, my friend, but that was very kind. I really appreciate it and happy to be on and happy to be chatting with you about things that I think that really matter to a lot of people given the crazy year that it's been.
I love it, man. I love it. Now, right as before we start, I just want to let people know, I mean, if you're a professional, you're an entrepreneur, you're a businessman, it doesn't matter. If you are working, you need to make sure you go and check out Jay. Go and check out Mr. Jay Abbasi. He has this amazing program that's coming up to help professionals thrive. It's called MINDFULNESS. Matters and resilience help you with this experience to get through the working years so you can find meaning in what you do, build resilience in your life so you can accomplish all the things that you're supposed to accomplish before you check out of this life. All right, so I want you to go over and check out his program, and that is JAYABBSI.me. Not me, him, the man Jay. Jay, listen, I don't even know where to start off, man. There's so much to talk about. We got so much in common here. And first I want to know is, my audience really wants to know, how did you get through this process of bouncing back? There were so many things that was set up against you, but you build the resilience enough to get through. And now you're telling people, you're teaching people about this thing. Tell us about this program and what it means to you.
Yeah, so it took me 6 years to put this all together, where I had to learn through experience, through studying, through research, events, webinars, seminars, books, you name it, to try to figure out, okay, how do I aspire professionally and achieve professional success without losing myself, without losing my sanity, while still finding fulfillment and happiness and contentment and peace. Because sometimes it feels like you can't have both. It feels like if you're the visionary and you want to go out there and accomplish so many great things in this world, and to be someone who really stands out and makes a difference, you got to kill yourself. You got to, pull your hair out. You got to, work crazy hours and not find or not be able to enjoy the present moment and time with family. It felt like that. And I learned that it doesn't have to be that way. That's the perception that a lot of people have. Now, how I got there was through trying different things and practicing different things, and, combination of things like meditation and prioritizing what's most important and setting boundaries and understanding your values and what matters most, and never sacrificing your own self-care. They say that, when you're on an airplane, when the oxygen masks fall, you put it on yourself first before you put it on the next person, right? There's a reason for that. You can't serve the world if you're not taking care of you. So I learned how to take care of me and still find success. And I did that. I did that at Tesla. I've done that as an entrepreneur. And now my mission is to serve that up for other people who want to fast track that, who don't have 6 years to figure it all out. They want to learn it quicker.
Mm-hmm. And you know what, Jay? You talked about something that many people are suffering with. Some people may call it workaholic. They may say it's a worker's disease, or I am basically trying to gain the world and lose my soul. And what that simply mean, that's a biblical statement that my grandma always talk about. And what it means is that I'm going after all of these things, but I'm forgetting the engine that's doing the work. Sometimes we are so busy trying to achieve, trying to grab the next glitter that looks like gold, and then realize that the true gem is really us, and we put ourselves on the back burner. Now, Jay, how are you using your platform to help people, especially professionals, to really get this message now before it's too late?
I try my best to communicate in ways where it's really simple and digestible and understandable. And I'm finding that LinkedIn is an amazing platform. That's where you and I met.
Yes.
Where I can reach a lot of people that way. And it seems to really be resonating. People are very engaging. And that is one platform where I reach people through video content and other types of content. I've also have a blog on my website where every week I'm writing articles to provide some additional resources to people who are in this situation, and to really give opportunities for aha moments.
I love it.
It's kind of what it's all about, right?
Yes.
And of course, the best way to do it, everybody's unique, right? And not everybody's the same. So I've been fortunate to have learned how to coach effectively through my training at Tesla and my own personal training. So through coaching, I think it's the best way, because there you customize a solution for the individual rather than trying to fit people into a box.
I completely agree.
It's transformative. I've been coached myself, and I found incredible results from it. And I've had the opportunity to coach many people, and they have seen some amazing results as well.
What I love about coaching as a coach myself is not so much as in delivering the content. It's the result that I see, and the feeling and the aha moment, as you mentioned earlier on, when the eyes pop out and they're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I can do that. Yes, you can. It's one of those, I hate to sound cliche like the Obama, administration, but it is true. When people come to that yes, you can moment, it feels so empowering that there is nothing in the world that they cannot do. And really, what I tell them, I say, you're living life from ear to ear. It's your life is everything inside here. And
True.
However you see it, that's what it is for you. And nothing that someone says can change it unless you come to that realization to unlock that door that's been kept shut for all your life. So, but I wanted to kind of segue into talking about overcoming the challenges. We're going to get into that 60-minute mindfulness to stillness. And I want to talk to the people that have lost someone, whether it was in 2014 or as of recent, less like myself, my pops. And I don't want to speak to everyone, but specifically men, because I believe that sometimes we bottle it up all inside, and we're supposed to be this tough guy, this strong guy, this husband, this provider, the everything, so to speak. Can you talk to men about how you help them to enjoy the stillness, to enjoy that moment when everything seemed like it's falling apart? Go ahead.
Yeah, so you're right that men tend to bottle up their emotions, and it's a way to not seem vulnerable, not seem weak. We're basically raised to be that way, oftentimes by our fathers or the image that society has portrayed. And so it's perfectly normal and understandable. So I would say the first thing is don't beat yourself up about it. I mean, I'll go to my story. When my father passed away, he wasn't sick. It was a sudden thing. And I had never dealt with such a loss in my life. It was, it really, it brings you to the core, right? It breaks you down to the core, and you have a choice as to whether you're going to let this leave you where you're crumbled and you have nothing left, or it's going to be transformative for you and you're going to be able to grow and develop from it. And so the way in which you do that is first by embracing the way you feel and not rejecting it. And that's a hard thing for men, because it's easier. It seems easier to resist and just push it down, stuff it down into your body. Don't let it out and go on like everything's okay. Be the tough guy. And that did not work for me. It did not work, and it doesn't work for anyone. So not only does my experience show that, but the experience of others and what science and research shows us and how to deal with grief. We have to allow ourselves to go through the feelings, allow it to be there. So after you allow it to be there, you recognize it, you are not resisting it, and you have a lot of compassion for yourself for what you're going through. I also find, especially when it's something that's traumatic, that you have to talk through it with someone. I find it to be incredibly helpful. Talk through it with someone you trust, someone you can rely on, where you can be vulnerable and let it out, because you can't let it go if you don't let it out. I always say this to my clients, sometimes you have to let it out to let it go.
Right.
And so letting it out is incredibly, incredibly helpful. And then the other thing that I find to be helpful is recognize the story that you're telling yourself.
Right.
If the story that you're telling yourself is one where you're the victim, or one where it doesn't bother you, or you're having to lie in order to feel you're not being honest, you're not being authentic, first recognize that and tell yourself a better story, a truer story to your experience. And that story may be, this person who I lost, while I dearly miss their presence.
Yes.
And I would love to see them again. The truth is, I can't bring them back. All of my grief or anger or resistance or denial, none of that brings them back.
No, it doesn't.
It's a truth that everyone can recognize and we can all relate to. We can never bring them back through anything that we do or say or feel. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, what would they want us to do? What would they want us to do now? And if you can tell yourself that story of where they would want you to go from here, how would they want you to live your life, especially in the moments where it's really tough? I find that it's incredibly helpful to bounce back from such a loss.
You know what, Jake? If you listen to me for the first time, ladies and gentlemen, I am listening and I'm talking, I'm sitting, I'm taking notes. I'm on the sponge seat, soaking everything up for my good friend down there in New Jersey, Mr. Jay Abbasi. Now, we have so much in common. We met on LinkedIn and we exchanged a few lines, but there are times when you realize like, whoa, maybe this was supposed to happen. And we're talking just about how do we, enjoy and relish that moment of stillness. And he calls it mindfulness. And I love the way he phrased it, is that a lot of things are happening around you. What is your priority at that particular time? And when you sum it all up, Jay, that's really what mindfulness is. Be mindful of the little moment that makes the big difference. But a lot of times we reach out for the big thing or the big picture, the big moment, and didn't realize that all those big moments were just a fragment of the little pieces that make them our own reality. So we're talking to Jay, and he's just trying to give men some advice, as he has given to his client, about how to build that inner resilience to help them know that things will happen. You will lose that loved one. But the question you should ask yourself is, what would they want me to do now? What are some advice that you would have given to your clients, Jay? For example, when they ask you that same question, what do you say to them? Jay, so what do I do? I've lost it all. This is happening. What do I do? What do you say? Where do you go inside of you to create that open dialogue to deliver that answer that's going to help them to break through?
Well, the first thing I would do, and before we started recording, you and I were talking about empathy.
Yes.
I would always, especially if someone's sharing with me something so vulnerable, I'd show compassion and be empathetic and recognize that if someone's sharing that, it's a hard thing to share. So I would do my best to express empathy and listen with my full attention.
Yes.
And then I would get to questions that would have them reframe their experience. And that is, well, what's happening right here and right now?
Right.
Everything that's happened in the past, it's over. There's nothing we can do. Mm. Anything that you're ruminating about in the future, you're worried about in the future, it's wasted energy. Right. There's no value in that.
Right.
So what are your options right now? What can you do right now to improve your life, to get more results, to feel better about your situation? And what I always, and I just mentioned stories. What I find, Andrew, is that stories tend to be a core component of things that I end up talking about, because it always ends up being what changes someone's perception. So what I find is that the stories we tell ourselves determine our happiness. So it's our perception of what's happening outside versus our expectation. And when the story of the perception versus the expectation drops our perception below the expectation, we're not happy. So we need to tell a better story to change either our perception or change our expectation, or both. So that way we can defeat these self-limiting beliefs, because ultimately what holds us back is our own limitations. And our own limitations are based off of a story we're telling ourselves. So a lot of times what I'm doing is I'm coaching my clients to help them see the story they're telling themselves and to help them to shape it into a better story.
Oh, Jay, come on. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening to me for the first time, I need you to get a pen and a pencil, because Jay Abbasi is throwing down. I hope that you're listening, and I hope that you're ready. You're listening to the ILIR-PODCAST, but I am listening and I am ready with Jay Abbasi and Andrew E. Guy. Take some notes, because he's trying to help you heal. He wants you to be mended so you can take over the world, and so you can be very effective in your next life. Not the next life, the now life. Most people would say, live your next best life. It's the now life. Now, Jay, I want to swing the table around, man. I really want to swing the table around. I'm just going to spin the table. And here's where I want to go with it. Normally, because I have tons of questions to ask, but I've learned something from Billy. Billy said, you have to go with the flow. Don't break the flow of the interview. And as much as I want to ask those questions, Billy said, no, don't do that. Go with the flow. Jay, there's so many people that are hurting out there. We see everything else when we hurt. But when we are at peace, when we have stillness, all the great things, the presents come out. You would think that it's Christmas every single day. Right. Now, the reason why I say that, because you're telling us to make sure we're telling ourselves the right story. I wrote a book one time called Work Your Words. And Work Your Words came about because I was a teacher in Jacksonville, Florida. And I was dealing with what they call them at-risk students. You know, the write-offs, the ones who are never going to be anything because somebody told them something, gave them a story for them to keep playing that record. Mm-hmm. I ran in there with the mindset, Jay, like, I don't care. I said, I am as dumb as they get. They're like, Mr. Guy, please. I said, I am as dumb as they get. I said, I couldn't read it when I was 14 years old. I didn't get to go to school, all of these things. So I tell them my story. I said, you're not reading this. This is who I am. I said, if I can make it, you don't have a choice. You got to make it. And I'm not going to leave here until you do. So I tell them, you got to work the words. Think of words as money. And if you work them and they pay you, then there ought to be something, a good dividend on that return. So work your words came out. And the reason why I mention that is because you're telling us to make sure we're telling ourselves the right story, the right affirmation, to let us know we are going to be who we tell ourselves that we are. What do you say? This has nothing to do with professionals, but I also get a chance to speak to youth in the schools and colleges and stuff, and they're listening right now. Mm-hmm. What do you say to that child, that young man who have lost his or her father? What do you say to that person right now?
I say to acknowledge and validate how you feel. Mm-hmm. Don't push it away. Don't resist it. Allow anything that arises inside of you to be there, mm-hmm. and be with it. I say, start writing your story to where the person who you lost would be proud of the story that you are writing for yourself.
Well said. 60 Minutes to Stillness. 60 Minutes to Stillness by Jay Abbasi. You need to get out there, get on his website, JAYABBASI.me. Not me, his me. Now, could you tell us about the 60 Minutes to Stillness? What can 60 minutes do for a professional who is so busy, he doesn't have time? So he thinks. Everyone's given 24. I tell him it could be 24 cents, $24, 24 million, 24 trillion. We all have 24. What you do with that 24 determines how you live your life. So 60 minutes to stillness. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So in that program, it's inclusive of 5 techniques that help anyone, busy professional, mm-hmm. youth, doesn't matter, embrace the present moment. You've said it a few times, Andrew. Right now, right here, right now.
Correct.
This is where life is being experienced.
Yes.
The mind takes you to the future and the past constantly.
Yes.
That's the way the mind is really wired. And,
yes.
and in the program, I have practices, very simple, effective practices that bring you back to the present moment so you can find that inner stillness. And with continuous practice
yes.
of these techniques, you'll be able to find that stillness in any circumstance. You can go back to it in your mind. And what we also have in the program is a deep understanding is covered, a deep, a theoretical understanding of why we are the way we are, why we are in this, what I call the human condition,
right?
Where striving for the next thing, we're never satisfied. We're always on edge. We're always competing. We're always seeking people's approval.
Correct.
And how the brain can be rewired. We know this from the scientific community, has proven through neuroplasticity, and fMRI scans have shown us that the brain can change with practice. And so these techniques include those practices that will change your brain and rewire your brain so that you can find contentment and stillness when there is a storm raging around you.
Now, how would you describe some of the storms that professionals are having nowadays? And I'm going to talk about the living aspect, because part of my platform, we talk about where you live, where you work, and where you play. And how can you help professionals to recognize the storms that they're having in their life so they can find the resources by coming to individuals like yourself to find a cure? I wouldn't call it a cure, but really coaching that will transform their life. How do you help them to discover what that storm is?
Well, it's as simple as taking inventory of your thoughts and your feelings. What happens is we go through our days, and oftentimes we're on autopilot. We wake up, we have things to do, we go throughout our day, and what's happening is below the thought stream, there is stress building up, there is anxiety, there is overwhelm, and it's building and it's building and it's building until we crack, until we say we're so burnt out, until
Yes.
we feel like we need to get away, we need a vacation. And then we do something where we take a little vacation and then we feel a little bit better. And then it starts to happen again and again and again, and it keeps building. So what I ask my clients to do is to take inventory, which is recognize throughout the day, check in with yourself. How are you feeling? What's happening in my head? What am I thinking about? Is what I'm thinking about serving me? And we have what I call pattern interrupts, which help someone to question or do something that will then change the pattern that one normally goes down. So the normal patterns that we run throughout the day that lead us to stress and anxiety and overwhelm require an interrupt to stop that from happening.
Correct.
And it could be a simple question that we ask, you know, how am I thinking right now? What's happening here and now? Are these thoughts serving me? What would be a better thought to adopt right now? What choices do I have? These kind of questions that we can, this kind of self-inquiry that we can do throughout the day, help us to take inventory of where we are and to adjust the pattern so that way we can be a little bit more peaceful and more content throughout the day.
You know, Jay, I really love what you're saying here. One of the key things that I love what you're saying, that we have choices. I'm a firm believer that we have opportunities. And within those opportunities, we have choices. But what makes the choices more real is the decision that follows those choices, right? We all have opportunities, but it's the decision that makes the difference.
Sure.
I always tell it, it's decision, DMD. It's the decision that makes the difference. Because one of the things that I practice for myself is that, and when I do any type of coaching or speak at any kind of organization or for CEOs or whatever, I said, you need to have a shut-off switch. And my shut-off switch is when I go to the office, I sit in my truck for at least a good 10 minutes and I clear my head of the father, the husband, and everything that has to do with the home, not the house, the home, and I leave that there. And then I put on a different hat. I say, now I'm at work. Where are you? I'm at work. I'm talking to myself. I'm putting in a key into the door and I'm going in the office and I know exactly what I'm going to do at this time and this time and this time. When that's all said and done, that way that helps me to be more effective on the job and to serve those people that I am serving. As soon as that is finished and I get into my truck and I drive home, I park in the driveway and I stay there for 20 minutes and I sit in the truck, I shut off that person that was at work, I take off that hat and I park it. It's a theoretical hat. And I said, I'm going in, I'm now a husband, I'm a father, I'm a provider, I am a protector, and that's who I am. And I put on that mindset and I come right inside the house. If I just come in the house the way I left work, a lot of people are bringing that stress home and they are mixing the two. So when we talk about work-life integration, how can we make our lives better where we live, work, and play by understanding that there's some faculties that don't need to be mixed, but we need to stop, as you're saying, and just take an inventory as to what's happening there, why am I doing that, and for who, and then put them in perspective. Do you think people have lost perspective in terms of their everyday livelihood?
Well, first of all, that's fascinating, your practice. I love that. That's so interesting. And I agree that some people have, many people have lost perspective.
Yes.
And I guess what's happening is we are constantly on the go, and we're also at the mercy of constant stimuli. So what I mean is you have your phone with you throughout the day, and therefore, if you get an email, you get a social media notification, you get a text message, whatever it is, you are drawn to that. You have to then feel like you're responding.
Yes.
So you never are turned off the way you described.
Yes.
You're always on. Rather than essentially what ends up happening is the phone is controlling you rather than you controlling the phone.
Correct.
And it's become such a problem in society. At first, at surface level, it sounds like it may not be that big of an issue, but I assure you it is. I assure you it is a big issue, because the notifications and the buzzing and all that stuff is constantly pulling your mind. And I want you to think back to what I said before about how your mind gets wired according to the actions and the thoughts that you go through every day. So if you are constantly at the mercy of stimuli that pulls your attention here, there, can you ever be present with the people who matter most to you?
Never.
You never are. And the way
Never.
you described it, Andrew, which is beautiful, which is when you go into the house, work is over, and you're there. You're the father, you're the provider, you're the husband, and that is who you are. And nothing is going to take that away from you. And I feel that most people aren't operating that way. Most people are still all these things that they think they are, and they are reacting to whatever pulls their attention. And it's unfortunate and it's sad. And it's why we see that 85% of people in the US say that they're stressed from their work. That's why you see so many people who are overeating and drinking and doing things that are harmful to their health, because they're seeking a way out. They're seeking an escape from this crazy life that they're living.
But Jay, it's amazing that, the 85% really are just the ones who are basically have been diagnosed or tested or basically recorded. What about the ones who have not been recorded? Sure. And I look at work, which is supposed to be a joyous activity, because work to me means expressing the gifts, skills, the talent, the expertise that's inside of you. You are this package. You are this Christmas gift to the world. And it is your way of opening up and say, wow, Santa is in the house, even though I don't believe in Santa, but it's in the house. Let me tell you what I got in my package. You see what I mean?
Right. No, let me just jump in because it's so interesting. You're talking about
Take Santa it away, man.
And work. My daughter recently fell in love with the movie Elf. Have you ever seen that movie before?
I've seen a bit of it, not all of it, but okay, I'm going to be watching it.
Yeah, very famous Christmas movie, right? And she loves it, and we're watching it all the time. And there's a scene where his brother, who's a younger boy, says, all my dad does is work. Like, all he does is work. And so Elf, the main character, says, well, work is fun. And he's an elf, right? So he's like very boyish, very like simple. Like, he doesn't understand why work is considered a bad thing to him.
Right.
Work is fun. Work is joy. So he didn't get why all he does is work meant that's a negative thing. It's something that we have created in our minds that for some reason work equates to stress, or work is pressure. Work is feeling overwhelmed, when in reality, shouldn't work be play? Why is work not play?
Tell him, Jay. Tell him, please. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, like, why do we have this idea in our minds that work is not something we should find joy in, that joy is things outside of work? So, one of the things you were talking about before was work-life integration, right?
Yes.
How I think of it is there should be harmony between these two things, and not even a separation in what brings you joy. All of it should bring you joy. All of it should make you happy. All of it you should find peace in, not just portions of your life, not just the hour and a half that you have at home when you're done with work. It should be your whole day. And I feel that that's a big part of what I'm trying to give to the world.
I love it. I love it. Jay, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to me for the first time, that is Jay Abbasi. He is throwing down. He is downloading. I really hope you have a big enough hard drive to get this information that he's throwing down. And just in case you miss it, you need to run, skip, hop, jump. Get over there to JAYABBASI.me. Not me. Him, Jay, he's the man. Go check him out. He got so much information out there that can help to transform your living life, your working life, and your mindfulness life. Let's get back to this conversation. It is so thick. Let's bring it. Jay, I'm too excited, man. I am so excited because I feel like I'm talking to a brother. I haven't met you before, but that's why I tell people, this relationship that we're having, that we're cultivating, has nothing to do with skin color. It's about that inner, deeper spirit. You know what I mean? When you connect with somebody, you don't have to fake the funk. You just know this is it right here. And a lot of people try to, meander their way around it. Let me see if this is a good fit. I know if it's not going to work, it's just not going to work. If I have a good feeling about something, I go with it right away. And then, hey, I live to regret it. That's fine. That means that's a life lesson that I learned. But if I feel there's a connection, I'm going all out. Now, Jay, when we talk about this 60 minutes to stillness, can you give the listeners, the entrepreneurs, the busybodies, so to speak? Because I know we're talking about work being fun, and we're going to get back to that in a second. But I want them to, I'm always telling them, get a pen, get a pencil, get something to write with, something to write on, because we're going to deliver every time. Can you give them just a nugget about how can they enrich themselves now where they are? And then they need to come and visit you to get the rest, because you're going to break it down and say, oh, great question. I have the answer for you. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So one thing that I find as a very simple gateway to finding stillness, bouncing back from challenges, is to utilize something that we do tens of thousands of times a day, and that is our breathing. We are always breathing. And what's fascinating about breathing, Andrew, is that it is the only involuntary function that we can control. So in other words, if I were to ask you to stop beating your heart right now, you couldn't do that, right?
No, not gonna happen.
Right? But you could adjust your breathing at any moment, and you are constantly breathing. It is the life force that fills you up. So if you want to find a quick way to stillness, start focusing on your breathing and start to take deeper breaths. And one that I advise in the course is something called box breathing. And it's a very simple process. All it is to think of, the four corners, right, of a box. And you have, with your breathing, there's the inhale, the point where you stop inhaling, right? And you switch to the exhale. That's the second one. The third is the exhale. And then the fourth is when you stop exhaling and you go back to the inhale. All I would advise my clients to do is start to do that. And I mean, we could do it together right now. It doesn't take long, right? So all we're going to do is inhale and capture it, and then exhale, and then notice it. Just being aware of all of it. Okay. Let's do it together on 3.
Let's do it. Come on, let's go.
Yeah. 1,
Ready?
2, 3. And that's it. It's a simple, like you're noticing the four corners, right? And the way I advise to do it is do 4 seconds for each. And we didn't do that, but that's okay. But ultimately that's the practice that immediately brings you to the present moment where you can find stillness. And you do that for a few times. In 30 seconds or 1 minute, you can find calm. It's an amazing, simple practice that I advise my clients to do.
You're telling me, and you're telling our listeners, and you're telling the world, Jay, that they have the key to this lock that they can open at any time and go Merry Christmas, Merry whatever, marry me. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's the case for all things.
This is powerful, man.
That's what coaching's all about, right? That's what we do as coaches, which is I never claim to have the answer and the grand, present. The Christmas present is not with me; it's with you. I'm just going to help you to see that you already have it.
I love it.
That's ultimately the way I think of coaching. Like, all I'm going to do as a coach, as someone who really cares deeply about your results, is I'm going to hold up the mirror and I'm going to ask you to look into it in a different way that maybe you did before, because you have everything that you need. You don't need anything else. It's there with you. And the problem is the thought stream that you have and the stories you're telling yourself are convincing you that there's something outside of you that you need in order to be happy, in order to be peaceful, in order to be still. It's not true. It's all there. And I would help you to just uncover it for yourself.
And I'm just going to expound upon what you said, because we are so in a line. It's unreal. Now, when we talk about this gift thing, I tell people that I just bring the scissors. You're already wrapped up. I just bring the scissors, and I'm just going to clip here, and you, by your internalization of the things that you're discovering, you are unwinding, you're unwrapping everything that was coiled up inside of you, almost like the double helix. It has to be unwound before it can be read. I said, that's what you are doing. I said, I got the scissors. I said, you're in captivity right now, and I'm going to cut a few ribbons. Bam, I cut the ribbon. There you go, unwind through your experience. The next thing that you say, Jay, that just so resonate with me, you mentioned mirror. Anywhere I hear the word mirror, something goes off in my head. And it's a practice that I teach people. I said, there is a mirror time and there's a window time. I said, don't spend too much time in the window that you neglect the mirror. What am I talking about? The mirror is where it only shows you what's reflected in it. And when you look in the mirror, you should see you. There's no one else in the mirror. It's just you. That's where you get to look and discover who you are, your gifts, your qualities, expertise, your talents, everything that's tied up inside a package that I'm going to give you the scissors to cut. When you go to the window is the world. It's the crowd that is waiting for what you have because you have discovered this inside the mirror. Because you have to also understand people are trying to make this first impression, Jay. And the problem I tell them with that, I say, you need to impress you first, impression. And then the feedback that you get from your impression becomes your expression. And that's how people are fulfilled by what you do and what you bring by your presence. Now, Jay, how can they find you? How can they get your information? How can they get in touch with you? What's the best way for people to reach out? Because this stuff that we're talking about here is meat. And meat is a metaphor that means I need this protein right now. This is going to help to build my thinking block. It's going to help me to rejuvenate. It's going to help me to rebound. It's going to help me. It's going to help me now. Please, how can we find you?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Andrew. LinkedIn is a great platform for all of us to connect. And you could just reach out to me on LinkedIn, message me, send me a connection request, or go to jayabbasi.me and you can reach out to me from there as well.
I love the way you say jayabbasi.me. I'm glad I wasn't saying it. So now they really understand who the real Jay Abbasi is. So Jay, where are you from? Where are you from? I wanted to find out where you're from, because the name Abbasi, what nationality is that from?
Yeah, so I'm Palestinian. So my father and my mother are both Palestinian. My father was born overseas in Jerusalem, moved here when he was 18 into New Jersey, where I live now. And my mother was born in the US as well. So I was born and raised here, and my family, is Palestinian, Middle Eastern.
Wonderful. I was born and raised in Jamaica, and then I moved here to Canada, and then I studied in the United States and then taught there for many years and then came up back here. So I'm now in Canada right now. We the North. Cool. And it's it's very cold.
Yeah, New Jersey is getting cold too. This morning I got up at 4:30. I went to the gym and it was freezing outside.
Oh man, awesome. Jay, you talk about the gym. So what I want to do right now, I'm gonna use this rest of the segment now to empower the professionals who I want to direct to you so they can come and get what you got. Because the show here is to showcase the thought leaders, the people that are serving, the people that are enriched with all these gifts and qualities and expertise that they do not want to take to the grave. They refuse to let it be mulch in the earth for the trees to dance around. It's supposed to be deposited in the hearts of men. So what I want to do with this time now is to ask you to kind of lay out, what's the process like when somebody becomes your client? How does somebody become your client? Other than just DMing you and reaching out, what's that process like? So they will know ahead of time, this is what's expected. This is how I can get this done. And so I need to go connect with Jay. Tell him about it.
Yeah. So the first thing I do, Andrew, is I first ask a lot of questions to understand, your position, your situation, where are you coming from? And if I can be a good fit for you, and if we're a good fit, in some cases it isn't a good fit. And I tell the person, hey, I maybe recommend them to somebody else, right? And if it is a good fit, what I end up doing is a deep dive into really trying to understand the person, and I go through a discovery session to understand where they're at, where they want to go, what are the results that they want. And then from there, it depends on the program. If it's a group coaching program, we do a combination of community kind of group classes,
correct,
video content, as well as one-on-one coaching. And with that, we have an 8-week process where we go through beliefs, perception, understanding the current patterns that we have, how to override those patterns, how to create what I call a set boundaries for our lives so that we can stay in that place of stillness and find that fulfillment. And then the practices that we could do daily to constantly keep our mindset right. So that's how an 8-week program for the group would work. For individuals, I don't like to try to form it beforehand because every person's different. So if it's a one-on-one client, I find that the best thing to do is to learn about the person and then design a program according to what meets their needs.
I love what you say. It reminds me because I am from what's called a Christian background. And I like in a way of Jesus would say when they come to him and said, hey, listen, I need help, Jesus. And then first question he'd ask him, he'd do a diagnosis. He said, what can I do for you? And I believe that he was probably one of the best coaches ever because that methodology works. It's like the person knows their pain point. They may not be eagerly ready to tell you what it is. You create that environment so they can tell you, you know what I mean? But that question, that diagnostic question, say, hey, what can I help you with?
Right.
It's a big way to start out. And it basically kind of calm everyone down. And from there, you can tell right away, is this a good fit? Because is the person going to be open to talk to you? Is the person going to be reluctant and holding back information and they're a little hesitant? Then you can really find out what the issue is and dig deeper to find out, should we move on or maybe we should refer you to somebody else? So I like what you said about that. That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Have you heard of a gentleman named Andrew Huberman? Is a professor out of Stanford University, and he talks a little bit about breathing, and not a little bit. His practice is based on breathing. As a psychologist, as a PhD researcher, he's an amazing individual. And I was listening to him on the Rich Roll show, and that's how I got to start listening to him about breathing. And then when you brought up the thing about breathing and how we can use it to transform our life, and it's almost like a reset button.
Right.
Talk about, and I started incorporating this in my own life and using it for my coaches. Like, hey, you take 2 in and 1 out. 2 in and 1 out. And it's amazing what it does for you. You should look him up. He's a really, really cool guy. I just connected with him. I'm hoping to have him on the show in the new year because we're launching this new thing called Disrupting Normalcy. And definitely want to bring you back on that. We want to put together a panel, Disrupting Normalcy. Like, oh yeah, I got up every day. I'm going to do this and this and that. No. We need to disrupt that normalcy to make sure we understand, are we there in the present moment so we can understand that day. I have something that I need to accomplish, and I have something that I need to give to the world, whether it be a parent, whether it be your wife, spouse, children, we have to deliver, but we have to be in the right space so we can deliver.
Absolutely.
All right, Jay, listen, it is time for what we call in this part of the show, the Think, Fire, Shoot. Think, fire, and shoot.
Okay.
And it's an area that we have developed in the show where we ask you 4 questions. You got 15 seconds to answer. You're on the hot seat, my brother. So you better get ready. Most people get nervous, but I tell them, I say, you're ready? Say, I'm ready. I said, I'm listening. I'm ready. So that's kind of what it is. And at this particular time, I'll read a bit from your bio so people can know who I'm talking with. And then you come on and you say, hi, my name is Jay, and this is what I do. And then you give them that quick line to let them know so they can find you. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, this is Andrew E. Guy. Welcome to this episode of the ILIR-PODCAST. It is time for Think, Fire, Shoot with my guest, my good friend, all the way down there in New Jersey, Mr. Jay Abbasi. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jay. He's simply an amazing individual, a great individual to speak to. In 2014, his dad passed away. It was rough for Jay. It was devastating for him, but he bounced back. In less than 4 years, he just went to become a national level individual that transformed people's life at Tesla. Today, Jay is a consultant and a coach that helps people to understand mindfulness and stillness so they can enrich their lives. Now, there is so much more to say about this gentleman, but that is just the tip of the iceberg. If you want to know more about Jay, I encourage you, I'm begging you, run, skip, hop, jump, fly over there to JAYABBASI.me. Not me, Jay. He's the man. And look him up. All right. So we're getting ready right now for Think, Fire, Shoot. So Jay, could you tell the people who you are? Get ready.
Sure. My name is Jay Abbasi. I am a performance and mindfulness coach, and my mission is to help professionals thrive professionally without losing themselves and losing their stillness in the process through coaching.
All right. Awesome. You hear it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Jay, the first question. It could be a word, it could be a phrase, it could be several words, and you got only 15 seconds. So I'm going to put the clock on right now. You got 15 seconds to do this here on a hot seat, but I know you're going to do just fine. All right, here we go. The clock is on. We ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. First word, setbacks, setups. So what? Go.
Resilience.
Boom. 2 seconds, 0.69. Awesomeness. Loss, found, discover. Go.
Peace.
Love it. Wow, Jay, this is fast. My goodness. The next one is, I want you to analyze and I want you to give your feedback based on this quote that is coming out in a book that I'm writing. It said, people spend their livelihood on the highway of living, looking in the rear view mirror instead of looking in the windshield on the highway of living. People spend most of their time and their life looking in the rear view mirror instead of in the windshield on the highway of living. Go.
I would say, why not also look at you in the car and enjoying the ride?
Nice. Nicely done. 11.12 seconds. Wow. Woo! He's cooking. Hot over here, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Last question, Jay. Last question. Failure, setups, setbacks, obstacles. So what?
Learning experiences.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Andrew E. Guy on the ILIR-PODCAST with my good friend over there, Jay Abbasi. And Jay, I want you to tell the people, I want to give them so much opportunity to hear your voice so they can hear you, where they can find you, so there's no mistake that I'm talking to Jay and that he is going to be the individual that's going to help you through your professional life to get that stillness so you can understand, even if it just takes you 60 minutes of mindfulness to stillness. So Jay, tell them where they can find you. Go ahead, take it away. This is your moment. Go.
Absolutely. I'd love to connect with anybody on LinkedIn, have a conversation there, get to know you a little, or reach out to me on my website, which is jayabbasi.me, and you can find me there too.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's our time. I want to thank Jay for his time. I know he's quite busy, but I thank him so much for taking some time out of his busy schedule to sit and talk with us. We're looking forward to connecting with Jay again. Until next time, you take care and have yourself a fantastic day. This is Andrew, and this is Jay saying peace. Until next time, keep listening, live ready, talk soon.